بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome back, my dear students, to today's English lesson. What are we going to do in today's lesson? Let's take a look. So we are still in Unit 4, and the topic is about favorite pastime activities. And today's lesson is going to be a grammar lesson. So what are we going to do? But before we jump to the lesson, we are going to take a look at the previous homework. What were you asked to do and how did you do it? So that was the homework. Answer the question, what do you do on vacation? Write 3 things that you do in your vacation. So these are examples for how can you do the homework. So let's read the first sentence. Number 1, I read books. Number 2, I paint pictures. Number 3, I play video games. Now, I want you to take a look at the verb here. We have the word read, paint, and play. Did we add anything to these verbs? No, we didn't add anything. Why? Because the subject here is I. I play. I read. I paint. That's why we didn't add anything here to these verbs. Now, let's take a look at this grammar lesson. So we are in Unit 4. We are done with the listening and discussing and pair work. Today, we are going to take the grammar lesson. And the next time, we are going to go until we finish this map. What are the objectives of today's lesson? What are we going to do? By the end of the lesson, you will be able to form questions using how often. How often. And we will use adverbs of frequency correctly. What is the meaning of adverbs of frequency? Let's take a look. I want you to look at this picture. Think, what do you see here? We can see a boy and a girl. Where are they? What are they doing? Looks like they are in a library and they are holding a book. Now, take a look at this question. How often do you read books? How often do you read books? That means I'm asking, how many times are you reading books? So you are going to give me what? What kind of answer I expect when I ask this question. Let's take a look. Questions with how often. How often. So when I ask questions about how often, I'm asking about what? It's called, I want a time. So you can tell me once a week, twice a week. Tell me, how many times do you do it in a week or in a day? So we call it frequency expressions. Frequency expressions. I pray 5 times a day. I take a shower daily. I read books 3 times a week. So, what about you? How often do you read books? Now, let's take a look at this example. How often do you work out? Work out. What is the meaning of workout? How often do you exercise? I work out every day. This is the answer, every day. Or once a week. Or you can say twice a week, 3 times a week. If you ask me and ask my friend, we will have different answers. But the answer will be about the time. I work out every day, or maybe my friend will say once a week. We will have different answers. When we ask how often, look at the structure here. How often do you work out? How often do you read books? We changed only this part. How often do you cook? Adverbs of frequency. When we answer, when we take a look at the adverbs of frequency, what do you mean adverbs of frequency? When you hear this, let's take a look at these words and tell me, do you know the meaning of these words? Always, often, never, usually, sometimes, and seldom. So when I say, how often do you cook? I cook every day. I always cook. Or, how often do you read books? I never read books. Why? I love playing video games. Or, I never think about something that you never do. I never lie. Do you lie? No, I never lie. So, how frequent do you lie? Never. Now, I'm asking about the frequency of how often do you do your homework? I do my homework 5 times a week during the work days or during the school days, right? Now, we have the words always, often, never, usually, sometimes, and seldom. But how can I put it in a sentence? How can I use it? Let's take a look. Adverbs of frequency usually comes after the verb to be, or before other verbs. Let's take a look at this example here. However, but you can say sometimes I go out. Look, the verb is here. Sometimes I go out, or I sometimes go out. We can use it before or after. Do you see here? Sometimes I go out, or sometimes I sometimes go. So sometimes, then the subject, or subject, then sometimes. Let's take a look at this one here. Look at the conversation between these two. So here, there's a question and an answer, another question and an answer. So let's take a look at the first question. What does she usually do on Thursdays? So I'm asking about the things she does on Thursdays. What does she usually do on Thursdays? The answer here, she usually goes shopping. She usually goes shopping. When? On Thursdays. So we asked about how frequent does she do this? She usually goes shopping. On what? On Thursdays. Let's take a look here. So this is the question and the answer. How frequent does she do that? Usually she does. Usually she goes shopping on Thursdays. Now, let's take a look at this S, the red S. She usually goes. Do you remember in the grammar lesson when we talked about the present simple? We add S to the verb. She usually goes. She usually drinks water every day. She usually drinks water in the morning. She usually, then verb, when you're saying the verb, you have to add S here because we have she. We said with he, she, and it, we are adding S to the verb. Now, let's take a look at the second question here. What do you sometimes do at night? What do you do sometimes at night? I sometimes go out. Did you see the word sometimes? This is an adverb of frequency. I sometimes go out. Or I can say sometimes I go out. You can use this words of frequency before or after the subject. Now, how about this? Know how to. Know how to. What is know how to? Now, when I ask, look at this example. I know how to ski. I can ski. I know how to ski. So that means when I say I know how to ski, that means I can. I can ski. Now, what is the structure of it? Subject, know how to, then the verb. Let's take a look at this example. I have 2 examples here. We have they know how to play football. He knows how to speak English. So, with they here, did we add S to the word know? I know. I know. So, the word know here is a verb. They know how to play. But because we have the word they, the subject they, we are not adding s here to the word know. They know how to play football. What about the other sentence? He knows how to speak English. He can speak English. He knows how to speak English. See, we did add the s here to the word know. He knows. Remember, he, she, and it, we are going to add s to the verb here. Now, this is the affirmative, but how about the negative? If something I don't know how to do, or something I can't do, how can we form it using know how to? It's just like this. I don't know how to ski. I can't ski. I don't know how to ski. So how are we going to do it? Just like this. The subject could be any subject, and don't. The word don't will come after the subject, but before the verb know. Subject, don't, know how to. Then the verb. Like this example. They don't know how to fix the chair. They don't know how to fix the chair. See, we did not add s here because we have the subject they. Now, what about the other example here? She doesn't know how to cook. She doesn't. We did not add s to the word know. We added s to doesn't. Here we have don't, then here we have doesn't. So the s, it's not in here with the verb, it's with doesn't. We're changing don't to doesn't. She doesn't know how to cook. Now, let's take a look at this here. We have a chart, a table of activities of a girl. Her name is Sabah. Now, look at the chart of Sabah's activity. Sabah always takes a shower in the morning. She takes a shower every day. How frequent does she do that? Every day. Now, let's take a look here. Sabah always takes. We added s to the verb because we have here the subject Sabah. It's a girl. When we're talking about her, she is a girl. So, Sabah, the subject here is just like she. Sabah always takes a shower in the morning. She takes a shower. How often does she do that? Every day. Now, look at the chart here. We have the activities on this side, and here are the days of the week. So, take a shower. Let's check on Sunday, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, every day. She always takes a shower. We have a check here and all of the days of the week. Now, how about make the bed? She doesn't do that on Sunday, not Monday, not Tuesday, not Wednesday, not Thursday, but on Friday and Saturday. So she makes her bed on the weekend. Does she do it every day? No. How about do homework? How often does she do her homework? Let's check the chart. Okay, on Sunday we have a check, we have a check, we have a check, except for the weekend. So she doesn't do her homework in the weekend. How about cook dinner? Let's check how many checks do we have? On Sunday, no, but Monday, yes. Tuesday, no. Wednesday, yes. And the rest of the days she doesn't cook. Now, how about draw and paint? So on Sunday, yes. Monday, no. Tuesday, yes. Wednesday, no. Thursday, yes, but Friday, no. So she does it on and off. So she doesn't draw and paint every day. Does she do it every day? No. How about watch TV? Let's check. She's doing it twice a week. We have only 2 checks. She does that twice a week. How often does she take French classes? Let's check. Well, she often does take French classes. See? Now, we are going to look at the questions and try to answer using these adverbs, okay? Ask and answer questions about Sabah. Let's take a look at the first one here. How often does she take a shower? Sabah always takes a shower in the morning, or she takes a shower every day. How often? Always, every day. These are the words, the adverbs of frequency. Now, let's take a look at the second question here. When does she make her bed? When does she make her bed? Let's take a look at the answer. She makes her bed on the weekend, on Fridays and Saturdays. So how often does she do that? Twice a week. On Fridays and Saturdays only. But the rest of the days she doesn't make her bed. Now, let's take a look at the next question. What language does she study? She takes French classes. This is the language, French. Now, what about the next one? When does she take these classes? How often does she take these classes? She takes French classes 3 times a week. 3 times a week. On Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. So she takes French classes 3 times a week. How often? 3 times a week. Let's take a look at the next question. How often does she do her homework? How often does she do her homework? She does her homework 5 times a week. She often does her homework. She often does her homework 5 times a week. See? So here's the answer. She does her homework 5 times a week. Because in the question, how often does she do it? Now, what about this question? What hobby does she have? From the chart, what hobby does she have? She draws and paints. She draws and paints. Drawing and painting is Sabah's hobby. This is her pastime activity. The next question, how many times a week does she do it? So this is her hobby. She draws and paints. How many times does she do it? She does it 4 times a week. How often does she do it? 4 times a week. This is the answer. Now, let's take a look at the next one here. What does she never do on weekends? On the weekend. Something she never do on the weekend. Maybe during the days, the other days, but not the weekend. She never does her homework. She never cooks dinner. And she never watches TV. And she never takes French classes on the weekend. So in the chart, in the weekend, Fridays and Saturdays, she doesn't do all of these things. Doing her homework, cooking dinner, watching TV, and never takes French classes on the weekend. How about the next question? Does she watch TV during the week? During the week, not the weekend. Does she watch TV during the week? Yes, she does. But in the weekend, she doesn't do that. How about this one? Does she know how to cook? Does she know how to cook? Yes, she does. In the chart, we saw 2 checks on the activity of cooking. So she does cook. Now, how about these activities? I wrote here the time, and we want to fill it with activities that we do. How often do we do it? These things here. Write about your usual activities. Something you do every day, something you do 3 times a week, something you do twice a week, something you do once a week, and something you never do. So here, always, often, twice a week. See, it's less here. Every day, you do it a lot. Never, you don't do it at all. So every day, what do you do every day? I read Quran every day. Something you do 3 times a week. Not every day, 3 times a week. I read books 3 times a week. I read books 3 times a week. Now, do you remember in the previous homework when I asked you to write 3 sentences about things you do on vacation? I read, I paint, like these 2 examples, I read and I paint. How often do you do it? We can use these words. I read books 3 times a week. So we are going to write 3 times a week after the I read books, after the thing you do here. Now, something you do twice a week, less than 3 times a week. I play outside twice a week. I play outside twice a week. Now, something you do once a week, only 1 time in the week. I go to the supermarket once a week. How about something you never do? Something you never do at all. I want you to think about an answer. I never what? I never lie. I never steal. I never hurt my friends. I want you to think about something you can add here. I never complete it. Now, what did we do in today's lesson? We did these things. We formed questions using how often. How often do you go outside? How often do you read books? We're asking about how much do you do it? How often do you do it? I read books 3 times a week. I go outside every day. Now, and we did this, used adverbs of frequency correctly. So the question is how often? In the answer we're using adverbs of frequency. Now, what are you going to do for your homework? You are going to answer these questions. Now, what do they do on vacations in the winter? Okay, so this is the question, but I want you to try to complete the sentence to be suitable to the rest of the sentence here. So what do they do on vacation? I want you to write about something people do on vacation. So the subject here is they. So use the subject they, and then the rest of the sentence will be in the mountains. Something they do in the winter in the mountains. Think about it and fill this gap. How about this one? The second one, what does Omar do on the weekend? Here we have Omar. This is the subject. Now, for Omar, the boy, what are we going to use? He or she? Try to write a sentence using the subject Omar. So, what does Omar do in the weekend? And I will check the answers in the next lesson. And that's it for today's lesson. I will see you in the next lesson.